Hi, welcome. In this video, I'd like to discuss what I refer to as selling a picture by way of a process. And this is where when you look at, again, a process itself, where I talk about training. Once you understand the relationship side of things, once you understand the context of behavior, reconciling by way of a dog gaining control. And again, I use this example often in my videos as in terms of a parenting problem, in terms of an already selfish child, because really that's the pivot point. Understand that when you're looking to get help with your dog, it's understanding behavioral issues, being able to reconcile them properly, to understand why it is. When I talk about this idea about training being a learning-based exercise, motivating dogs to respond, generate a series of responses, and then trying to sell it that way, to say, well, the dog's moving around, that's representative that good things are happening in the relationship. Understand, and that's a total fallacy, okay, based on context, based on how a dog's decision-making process is governed. And again, this gets into this issue about how trainers package up that picture. This is why you'll see trainers who say, well, 10 sessions, or 10 sessions for X amount of dollars, because what they're doing is they're going through and they're motivating dogs that way at the very beginning of a process, and it's all about appearances. It's all about dogs moving around, generating responses, but without putting the picture to the test, okay, without connecting dots properly. They're assuming things. And so, selling it that way, again, this is why when I do training, because again, understanding, okay, in terms of relationship, in terms of control, in terms of the perceptions of a dog, how they truly change at an interaction-based level, by way of an interaction-based approach. And so training at that level, just like my parenting example, once you have an already selfish child, is really a intervention, okay? It's an intervention. And so what I'm doing is I'm not selling it that way. I'm not saying 10 sessions for or 20 sessions for. I mean, it's completely different, because that's what it is, okay? It's understanding that dogs as social animals, it's about engaging a process properly to truly go beyond appearances, okay? This is not an appearance-based system. This is why when people look at what I'm doing, it throws them off, right? Because they're saying, well, my timing's off from when I'm rewarding a dog, or they're rewarding a dog. So they're filtering everything through a certain lens. So when they see a dog go into a position, they're saying, why isn't Dale rewarding a dog for that position that way? Well, because I'm doing it different, okay? It's not the same way. It's, I'm in tune, I'm dialed in differently. And, and I would encourage people to think about it. It's no different than they would look at, and this is the thing to think about, they would look at the selfish child example, right? And I'd encourage people to really think about this, because it'll make sense. It'd be like them looking at a person stepping onto the scene of an already selfish child as a so-called professional, and they're using, say, an Xbox game to generate a series of responses, and they're like thinking that's fantastic, saying that they're high-fiving the parent and rewarding the child for doing a series of responses, but totally, just looking at things at an appearance side of things, at a response level. There's no depth to what they're actually considering or doing, right? Whether or not the perceptions are changing at a deeper level, they're not looking at things that way. And so if I did the same thing with an already selfish child, and I wasn't high-fiving the parent and rewarding the child, they'd be like, what's he doing? Well, what I'm doing is I'm engaged differently, okay? And it's not even about, and see, this is where things have gone totally sideways, and even with balanced trainers, they're playing both sides of the fence here, and they're like, this is why you'll see them kind of rolling over on their own right now, in terms of trying to call out other trainers for perceived abuse and everything else, because they're walking in between two parenting styles, so they're confused, right? They're playing both sides of the fence. I'm not doing that. I'm reconciling, saying, here's the role of influence. This is how, in terms of a process, how you reconcile even the reaction of a dog based on how you're interacting with the dog in very specific ways. The dog will come into agreement with, okay, these interactions, but everything's reconciled. But again, about packaging, understand that when I talk about training being a intervention, that's what I'm talking about. You know, right from the, so it's like, you know, typically when I'm helping people, it's 1, 2, maybe 3 sessions, and they're in pretty good shape. Okay, they have the core method at the very beginning, and everything makes sense. When I sit down with dog owners for just a few minutes and I talk about why I do things the way I do it, it makes complete sense. But understand here, when people are looking at my social media and they're going in, they're already have an idea of things, right? They already are filtering everything through a certain way. So it just sends them completely sideways. But understand the whole dog training world is already completely sideways. Okay, people wonder why there's so much confusion, and you know, there's so much infighting, there's so much divisiveness. Well, that's the reason. So again, I encourage people to really consider what I'm saying. You know, this system of training is a original source system. You're not going to see any other training system out there that even comes close to this system of training, because if you pay attention and, you know, and audit properly, you'll see this idea about learning incorporated into all these systems. And that, again, based on context, based on application, you'll know, or I know right away when I look at it, say, no, there's a level of control that dog's holding. So, you know, it's understanding where that line is, because understand that a lot of trainers have difficulty finding that line. Okay, what's the role of influence? They're using a negative to get a dog to respond, but still, you know, they're working off of this superficial you know, framework, a response focused framework of motivating dogs that way, and it's a totally wrong way to do it. So again, I encourage people to really check out my website. Lots of great information to help people reconcile this system, but it saves people time, it saves people money, it makes sense, it's very effective, it maximizes change at the highest possible level, and it's not about appearances. It moves people beyond appearances. Thanks for watching.